Hello YouTubers, it's Lilith the Star. I'm here to give you a quick talk about, well, I say quick, I hope it's going to be quick, might not be, talk on pagan paths and stuff like that I did kind of hinted at in my original video, my first video, where I was saying hi again, it's the wind. I've been pagan for a while now, for a very long time. Since I was roughly about 11 when my friends started to actually get me into it. We were mostly Wiccan at the time, but I couldn't really identify with a lot of their Wiccan beliefs. At that stage in my life I couldn't. I felt I had to pick a god and a goddess. I could never pick a goddess for some strange reason, and I still haven't quite figured out what that was. But I was more drawn to the Egyptian gods, and the god that I chose to follow was Anubis. So my little 11-year-old self really, for some idea, liked the god of judgment, because he is a god of judgment no matter what anyone says. He judges the dead, has a large crocodile lion pet thing that eats you if you aren't worthy to enter the afterlife. And originally he was the king of the underworld until Osiris was sent down to the underworld and took his throne from him. I always kind of identified with that, I'm not quite sure why, but to a degree I really did like that idea. I'd always kind of had more of a link with Anubis than anyone else, because when I was very, very young, let's say about 4 or 5, I used to go to the library a lot with my grandparents when I was there, and I loved Egypt. And up until about the age of 16, I still really liked Egypt, and it was a really big thing for me. And I used to read lots of books. I used to get out every book I could on Egypt, kids books, adults books. Believe me, I read every single book I could get my hands on about Egypt. I loved it. But whenever I was reading these books, my gran would always tell me that I was talking to someone. I don't remember, I was like knee-high to a grasshopper, as the saying goes, so I don't remember this, but I was always talking to someone, and it was always kind of in a come follow me, we'll read this together kind of thing. And she said she thought it was Anubis, because I did mention him quite a bit back then, so I suppose that could have linked into it. I don't know, I'm not sure. Like I said, I was very young, I don't remember these incidents actually happening. However, being in a coven with other Wiccans, I wasn't a Kemetic. I still don't think I ever will be, or ever could be a Kemetic. I've heard too much negative stuff about them. If you are Kemetic, please don't take this the wrong way. You may be wonderful, but I'm not big on organised religion, especially when someone I work with has, his wife is a priestess in the Kemetic organised religion in America, and she left. And after hearing some of her experiences, I very much avoid that kind of thing nowadays. But yeah, so I followed Anubis, the god of death, judgment, and things like that, and it really connected with me. Unfortunately, unfortunately my mother was very, very supportive of this for a while, and then my mother met someone who turned out to be a very negative influence on my family, and he was an Astari who worshipped Thor, or at least he claimed he was. I'm not too sure anymore. I'm not sure whether or not he wanted to fit in with what me and my mum, because my mum had started to get involved with similar things. I'm not sure whether he was using that to play on mum, and because they got married not too long after they met, I think about maximum of a year. It wasn't that long. And that ended very badly for us. I'm not going to go into details, but it ended very badly. Because of that, I had to go live with my dad. Well, after lots of things, we ended up living together, me and my dad, and my sister, who's now here with me. And I had to stop actively practicing because my dad, while he's not an overly oppressive Christian, he does believe, and he and my gran don't really like the idea that I'm pagan. My gran's kind of accepting of it because this is going to sound really strange for everybody involved, and I understand this. I do believe in God. I do believe in the Islamic, Christian, whatever you want to call it, version of God. Reason being, there are that many people offering power up in the form of prayer, in the form of belief, that it can't not be there. We just have an agreement. I kind of ignore him, maybe swear at him a couple of times, and he leaves me alone. I don't bother him very much, he doesn't bother me. I kind of think that's a good agreement. Kind of. But yeah, I do believe in him. Which is a lot of people are gonna think, oh, that's weird, you're pagan, you're Wiccan. But the very fact that I am pagan, I can't discount anyone's gods, or goddesses for that matter. Just because he's not the one I follow, doesn't mean that he's not out there. I just don't get on with him. You know. I do get really annoyed at a lot of pagans who go on and say, God doesn't exist, you're doing this, you're doing this, you're doing this. Pagans used to go to war for their beliefs too, so just remember that. We just don't seem to do it anymore, because there's not enough of us, to be honest. But yeah, I do believe in him. Back on track. I do believe in him, and I've told my gran that all the time, but I'm just not an active follower of him. In fact, going to church was some of my best times when I was a very young child. So yeah, I do believe in him, but we don't talk much. So yeah, I have been worshipping in any way I can. I've done small rituals. I try and observe the days, but I work a lot, so not that I'm not happy with working, because I know some of you watching think that I may be. I'm not. Sometimes trying to get up at 5:30 in the morning when the sun is rising is quite hard. I think the gods understand that, because I do kind of still worship them and give them homage. I'm sure if I didn't do that and I didn't observe, they'd get a bit, angry at me. Yeah. But anyway, to start off the second part of the new path of paganism that I'm on, I have to detail a couple of things. Now, I've always loved horses. Yeah, it's a little girl's dream, love horses. No. I've always loved horses, but when I say horses, I mean the type that used to ride to war on. I look at a horse, and yes, I see the grace and I see the beauty, but I see an animal that wants to be loved as much as you want to love it, and they're a companion. And I love that about horses. Yeah, I'm probably never going to own one because they're possibly one of the most expensive animals on the planet to ever own. It's an aim somewhere in the very far future. But I've always wanted one. I run a stables on DeviantArt. I roleplay using my drawings with horses, and I run a stable. It seems like a silly little thing to do, but it has got me back into drawing, because that period with my mother stopped me drawing as well. I've always loved horses, and I've always been a wolf person as well. I quite like wolves. They're pack structure, the way they work, the way, you know, they're beautiful animals. And I've always loved German Shepherds because I was raised with them. Shh. They don't like German Shepherds, it seems. And when I'm older, I'd love to be able to have one of those as well. But yeah, and a couple of months ago, well, actually it's about a year ago now, I was thinking about getting myself a pet, and I was going, well, you know what, I'd like a snake. And I was having a discussion with my friend Wendy, and I've been having lots of weird dreams recently, including the same figure in every single dream, no matter what. And he kept telling me things. It was a very tall figure. I'm not going to go into detail. I'm just not, because it kind of tarnishes it a bit. And I felt very connected with this figure, but I didn't know who he was. I had an inkling who he was. But I was a bit afraid if it was true, because, to be honest, the Avengers had just come out. Avengers Assemble in the UK. Ooh. And there was a lot of Loki fangirlism going around at that point. Because, well, yeah, Tom Hiddleston's hot. I'm not gonna lie. He's nice. He looks good. His voice is nice. But, yeah. So I was having this discussion with Wendy, and eventually I connected up all the dots. A certain somebody by the name of Loki has been trying to poke me for a while now, and he just found that extra way in, that extra slap that said, you know what, I'm picking you, or you're working for me, or whatever the gods want to call it nowadays. Now I wasn't too happy about this at the time anyway, because that guy who my mum married, I think I've already mentioned, he followed Thor and Old One Eye. So to have the Norse gods poking me was quite scary, because we hadn't had any positive contact before that. Also, one of my friends, I say friends, he was a very good friend, but he was also could be very, very nasty at times, and he was a follower of Freya, goddess of war and fertility. No, I think that's correct. Yeah, so the people that I had been in contact with, who had actively told me they followed these gods, were not the kind of people that I wanted to end up worshipping with. You know, and I'd never associated with any of them. I have a horrible, horrible phobia of thunderstorms. So again, having a pantheon who's one of the major gods is thunderstorms poke you is not a particularly good thing, especially when you haven't been practicing for a while. But after talking to Wendy for a bit, she spoke me around a bit and was like, Loki's your boss. You're going to have to learn to deal with this. Whether or not you want to, he's your boss. Or want him to be, he's your boss. And a little bit of me was upset because it wasn't Anubis anymore, but I'd kind of felt that break away when everything went bad. Kind of like he knew he couldn't contact me anymore, and it was time for someone else to take over. And it's always saddened me, and I do still keep an Anubis statue, well, several, in my room, because I do still, he's a very prominent figure in my life. He was there for quite a bit of my life, but not as much as it seems as Loki. Now, yeah, I'm going to get a lot of Astari people going, how dare you worship the god of lies and fire and mistrust, and he's a god of chaos. Chaos is the opposite of order, simple as. I have had, yes, he's very, very chaotic, and yes, he pushes me quite a lot. He's very much reminds me that if I don't need something, he will remove it from my life, whether I want it removed or not. But I'm actually quite happy with that. I do feel genuinely like I have a God that has my back, and that's nice. That's really nice. I don't care what anyone says, that he's a god of darkness, he's a god of lies. He's basically the Norse god's wet work dude. He gets sent off to deal with the crap that they can't deal with, or they don't want to deal with. Yes, he does start some of it, but he doesn't start some of it as well. Thor wouldn't take him on his journeys, his travels, if he was that bad. I kind of think the gods overreacted a bit in tying him to a rock with his son's entrails. You know, give it a little bit give, a little bit take here. But yeah. How did I come to this conclusion as well? So I hadn't detailed that. Well, I like horses, I like wolves, and I want a snake. His three of his sons, not three male sons, because he had 5. Fenrir, obviously, the wolf, the giant wolf. Jormungr, the world serpent, and Sleipnir, the 8-legged horse. So yeah, anyway, sorry, out of that little anecdote. Yeah, so Loki is my new god, my new boss. I follow him. I'm quite happy to follow him. And I am very happy now to stand up and say that I follow him. And yeah, if you don't like it, I'm really sorry, you're going to have to deal with it. Because he has supported me. I haven't had any other god except Anubis turn up and support me in the way he has. Or goddess for that matter. I've had one goddess turn up, and that's normally when I get really, really irate. And yeah, that's the Morrigan. Yeah, but I'll detail that in a later thing. She again, goddess, of fertility and war and chaos to a degree. So yeah, perhaps I'm supposed to go through chaotic changes. This year has been horrible, so it wouldn't surprise me. To a degree, there's been some good stuff as well. Please don't think that I'm going all paranoid destructionist. I'm not, really I'm not. But yeah, so now I'm on a completely different path. I'm following a god of chaos and fire and an illusion instead of a god of judgment and the dead. Doesn't seem like much of a difference, but there is a difference. Also, I am not an Astaru in any way, shape or form. I am pagan in the possibly loosest sense of the term. I do spells, I follow the wheel of the year, I worship the god and the goddess. I more worship the god than the goddess because no goddess has really made herself prominent in my life. I'm not saying she won't. I mean, as I said, Morrigan is the only one to really have gone, hi, I'm here, and I for you, you know, I'm not saying that I'm important enough to ask to have that happen, but if I get that connection with a god, or even if I eventually get it with the goddess, that's the one I'll choose to follow. But yeah, I thought that was needed to be a bit detailed about the difference between the path I was on and the path I'm on now, and also to give you guys a chance just to, yeah, see who I follow to start off with. I think that's going to be it for this video because it's going to be quite long now. But yeah, actually, any topics that you do want me to have a quick talk on, please do leave a message. I might, I've got a little notebook for topics of stuff that I can, I've been jotting down for ideas. Maybe on my next video, at the end of each, I'll come, here's 3 choices, which choice would you like me to do? I might also do some game reviews eventually, but we'll see how that goes. And I will probably speak to you later. Take care. Bye bye.